pick up 75% of that. So at this point in time, for the first 30 days, we would not incur any of the costs, but we would have to expend the money and be reimbursed from the federal government and the state. After that 30-day, it would be on a 75% federal government, 10% state government, and 15% city government. We are anticipating that the president will issue another proclamation that will have everything at the 90-10 level, with the federal government picking up 90% and the city and state splitting the 10%. But as I speak right now, that has not been agreed to by the president or the federal government. There is another option in which we could go under the county's contract, but again, that does not give any control as to who we use. I think the county has chosen some company called Ceres, C-E-R-E-S, to do their pickup. So in looking at the options that we had and talking with council members who say I haven't talked with them, it limits our ability to use the Corps of Engineers because we would not have the control that we would like to have. At the end of
but wouldn't we also not have all the headaches and the coordination? And you know, I'm looking at the Corps of Engineers. If they do it, they just take care of it. If we do it, we have to go through all of this rigmarole and all of this paperwork and bureaucracy, and I would think that it would cost more money for us to handle it the way we're looking at handling it. Maybe, maybe not, but you know, and being practical, I certainly know that people have all their issues, but
I understand that. I'm trying to
in a lot of stuff that we don't have to get involved in.
I'm trying to balance the need for debris cleanup with the desires of a majority of the council members, with the economic impact that this could have on local businesses. If we went with the Corps of Engineers, local business, regardless of whether they're minority or not, they would not be participating in the cleanup of debris in this area. That's part of the reason why the county chose not to go with the Corps, but go under their own contract with this company called Ceres. And they're using contractors who are outside the city of Birmingham to pick up their debris. And it would be less headache. It would be less headache. But it would also be less.
If you talk to the majority of the council about it, then it's not even open.
Well, I thought I talked to a majority of them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Council Abbott. Mr. Mayor, I do want to thank you for coming and sharing this information with us. I did have that was one of my questions about yesterday. I think there was someone from the fire department, I think, had mentioned talking to the Corps about some property, but I am one of the council members that has expressed interest in making sure that we are able to do it ourselves so that we can have the type of economic impact that you just mentioned, because it's important for us to, you know, not only for us to get people back in their homes, but put people back to work. And I know that that's important to help stimulate our economy. My question is, we mentioned there's the debris, there's the monitoring, and recycling.
Yes. Yes.
Those are three different components. But one component I'm curious to know, and it kind of goes along with what you're talking about, Councilor Abbott, is there going to be someone that's going to be managing all of this?
That's the monitoring component. Okay. It would be monitored from the standpoint of meeting all federal regulations, keeping track of the amount and tonnage of debris that's being picked up, the classification of debris, what happens to that debris upon separation. One of our biggest concerns is that the amount of debris that we have will just inundate our landfill, and we're already faced with having to replace the cell within the next couple of years. If we put that debris into our landfill, it will use up all the current space, and we would still have to immediately build a new cell to handle all of it. In looking at the monitoring piece, it will give us the protection, and this is someone that would the federal government, that would meet all the federal government requirements. As to the recycling, at the end of the day, we will still have material that has to go into a landfill. What I'm looking at is options not to utilize our landfill. There are a number of other landfills that we're trying to negotiate either at our cost or below our cost, or what it would cost us to put it in our landfill to utilize those other different landfills. And I've talked to landfills as far away as Selma, as far as Sumter County, and as far away as, well, and right here in Jefferson County, there are a number of private landfills that we can utilize as well without putting it into our own landfill.
Okay, because I was, of course, I've been talking to different people about this whole, you know, how we're going to clean it up and recover and rebuild. And I guess the only other question that I had is relates to, like, we have this where we're talking kind of about recovery and how we're just going to at least go and clean up the debris, and now we can go on the property with the proper, I guess, credentials or privileges. Or I can't remember the right.
Well, they have to sign a waiver. The property owner has to sign a waiver. If we cannot get in touch with the property owner, well, at the meeting that we had with the Corps of Engineers yesterday, you recall I left council meeting to go and meet with them. They indicated at that time that the presidential order allowing us to go on to private property to collect only applies to the federal government paying for it, the reimbursement of the cost. But we would still have to follow our state and local ordinances in complying with that. The Public Health and Safety Act that is part of our state statute allow us to go onto public property and to resolve a public nuisance or a health hazard, which this would come under. So we would still have to meet all of the state laws and requirements, but there are emergency provisions under the Health and Safety Act that will allow us to go onto property. For example, if we can't get a hold of the property owner, now we would have to go through a publication notice, wait 30 days and so forth and so on. We can bypass that. So we have that ability, but we must first attempt to get them to give us that waiver, and that document is being prepared.
Okay, and so along with that question is the, you know, so we can go and clean it up. There's, I know, opportunities with the city based on this being declared a emergency or disaster area that, say for instance, we have plans to do infrastructure improvements that I think there's grants or something, I was reading it yesterday, but there's opportunities for us to improve or enhance our infrastructure with what because of the fact that this has been declared an emergency, so we can get federal assistance to help us do that. Mm-hmm. And so with that company, or with the monitoring, would they be helping us look into the futures for what we're trying to maximize?
No, their role will only pertain to the collection and monitoring of the debris. Long-term planning of infrastructure and community development planning, that would have to take place through something like HUD initiatives, SBA loan initiatives, and things of that nature. We're going to be we are in touch with Congresswoman Sewell's office, because through our normal allocation of federal grants to our Community Development Block Grant Fund, that is not enough to even begin to scratch the surface of what's needed. Congress, as you recall, few weeks ago, cut the budget back, especially in the area of Community Development Block Grants. So we would have to get one of our Congressman Backus or Congressman Sewell, or both, and they both indicated that they would help to get us a special allocation of federal funds to do infrastructure redevelopment and rebuild and things of that nature. That's the only way we're going to be able to come up with the money necessary to do what we need to do. The other thing, and I was a little confused, because I thought that once a county was declared a disaster area, that you could receive funds to use anywhere in the county. Well, that's not the case, because FEMA has designated certain areas, and they provided a map to us, and only within those areas can FEMA and the emergency dollars that would come down